Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Time Traveler's Handbook. In today's episode, we are going to be continuing on with our discussion of Doctor Who. We are now on Season 10, Episode 6, titled Extremis. Spoilers ahead. In this episode, in a new season of Doctor Who, the Doctor and his new companion Bill find themselves in a simulation titled Extremis. I wanted to talk a bit about simulations because they relate to the normal universe stuff that we've talked about before in the same way that pocket dimensions do. They are not affected by the real world's time and space mechanics and can thus operate in a different time frame than what is relatively possible in the real world. So, a little bit more about simulations. Most simulations are depicted to happen inside of computers, so the simulation can go as fast as the computer can go. An interesting property of this is that the rules of the universe are determined by the person controlling the simulation, which means that you could have ever-changing rules while inside a simulation that have no rhyme or reason other than whatever the controller is feeling like doing. Additionally, simulations can happen very, very quickly, which means that 1 second of computation time in a computer could mean years of relative time inside the simulation. Now, simulations are not foolproof, as we can see in the show, at least if it is running on an ordinary computer, as we know computers to operate. I don't know anything about those quantum computers. I imagine it would be different. When a computer has to generate a randomly generated number, it uses some sort of an algorithm to randomly determine a number. But if multiple people think of a random number at the same time, they will all think of the same number because random number generators operate kind of off of real world statistics. And so that calculation is going on at the same exact time for every person. And so they think of the same number. Additionally, in other media, other tells of it being a simulation where things like skipping stones will always have the same result in the same amount of bounces, or time is being skipped around the place with no memory of how they ended up in a different time than what they were previously. That doesn't necessarily mean that one can break out of a simulation. After all, the person may just be a line of code inside the simulation. But you can at least become aware that your world is a simulation. So to break it down, simulations are essentially pocket dimensions that are artificially created by someone and can be controlled from the outside. The people inside a simulation can determine that they are in a simulation by various means, but ultimately the rules of the universe are determined by the one controlling the simulation from the outside. Simulations are a handy tool if you want to do something creative with your time mechanics in storytelling, as you can basically determine the time and space to be whatever mechanics you want them to follow. That's all I wanted to talk about with this episode. Next time we're going to be talking about The Lie of the Land, the episode 2 episodes from now that is the conclusion of this kind of pseudo-trilogy that they have in the middle of Season 10. As always, thank you for listening.